Yes, I mean, I find it, honest guys, a bit sad. You see, they stand over there in their masks and screaming vile abuse. Now they've also done not nice things. And some will have gone to jail in the United States. We've had bomb threats, and all this kind of stuff. You see, and for example, they've hacked my personal emails. Not only did they hack them, then they sent them round the place to people who don't like me, and so on. All this kind of stuff, which is not very nice. I've had abusive phone calls at home at night and so on. That's not nice to see. Now, as to their claims on freedom of speech, it's actually our creed. We're actually probably the only church in the world that actually has as part of its creed human rights. We actually list out a list of human rights are part of our creed, one of which is freedom of speech. You're free to utter your own opinion on whatever, you see, right? But this was a stolen tape from us that was put up. We weren't infringing on anyone's speech to say whatever the hell they wanted about that. We just said, no, it's our tape and we're taking it back. That's not an infringement of speech. They were actually infringing copyright laws. And you see, it is the same with any rights, you see, so that there's no such thing as absolute rights. There are competing rights. I have a right to free speech and so do you. But when you then start to cut out my freedom to say what I want to say, well, that's a separate matter. Then that's a contested freedom. Then you see, and so you get this kind of stuff going on. Their claim we're against freedom of speech, which is just completely untrue. It's untrue. They simply don't understand the difference between copyright law and freedom of speech, which is not the same thing. See?
So if anyone wanted to find out about Scientology, about courses, about price lists, you mentioned freedom of speech, could they literally ring up the centre and be provided with that information?
Yes, and in fact most of this information is actually available online. We have one of the largest religious websites in the world. Our website is much larger than, say, the Vatican's, and it gets way more hits, so it's extremely popular. We have free courses online. You can do them, online. So we have a lot of material. We've actually donated all our books to every library in the world. Every library in the world. See, so anyone can go into a library, get a book, read it, and try it for themselves.
So beforehand, basically what you're saying, that someone can take a look at a price list, see which courses they want to do, and see how much it's going to cost them. Because I know one of the misconceptions is obviously you mentioned that the courses cost, that they do a course, then they're pressured into doing another course and another course and another course. This is what's being portrayed in the media all the time.
Yes.
That they're forced, they're locked into doing courses, or if they can't afford to do courses, they're put on staff and they're paid minimal amounts of money. Right. So you're saying that's not the case.
But listen, why would we be in the practice of forcing anybody? Why would we do that? See, of course, I would really like if many more people were Scientologists than are now. Scientology, the use of it has completely changed my life, for the better, absolutely enormous change and so on. So I personally want as many people as possible to get what I've got out of Scientology and so on. And I would say, listen, I think you should do that course. But the idea of forcing somebody to do something is just ridiculous, you see.
And getting back to the questions here, ex-member John Daigan has claimed that Tom Cruise put pressure on Amazon.co.uk to remove his book, The Complex, about Scientology from their website. What are your thoughts on this? I know it's not available in the UK and it's not available on Amazon.co.uk.
Yes.
Is there any truth to this, or how do you feel about John Daigan's book?
Well, John Daigan's book is his point of view. It's a grossly distorted point of view, but it's his point of view. Now, that was pulled, so I understand it, by Amazon because he had libelled somebody in the book. He had libelled somebody who's still alive in the UK. So,
Have you read the book yourself?
I haven't. No.
Okay.
I mean, this is.
Yeah. So you've no comments. Sorry.
understanding of it, you see.
Yeah.
So it's people change their mind about things, you see. Some people I used to like, Manchester United. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? People change their mind about things. I was a big fan of heavy metal when I was in my teens. That was a long time ago. I'm not such a huge fan of it now. You see, people change and grow and do different things, and that doesn't mean there's anything wrong with heavy metal. It's just not my taste anymore. Now, you could probably check out what actually happened to John Dignan. You see, John Dignan picked up his coat one day and left. So if we're doing all these bad things, why didn't we stop him? Why didn't we hold him against his will? He just walked out the door.
So that again is one of the things that's out there in the media, and ex-members have spoken out about how hard it is to leave the church, the process, that they're being blocked from leaving the church. What are your opinions on that?
No, again, that's just nonsense. As I said, I've obviously heard this stuff too. I read the media like anybody else, and you do read this stuff and you go, where is this happening? You see, it's that for example, I'm actually married to an ex-Scientologist, and she had left the church before I married. So I actually married her when she was an ex-Scientologist. She just left. One day she said, "No, it's not for me," and she left. End of story. You see, I mean, I just find it extraordinary. A lot of this is to do with we've a religious order in our church called the C Organisation, of which John Dignan was a member. You see, Now the C Organisation is a religious kind of brotherhood within our church, in the same way as the Jesuits are, or the Dominicans are, or something like that. You see, so they have their own thing going on. You see, so when you actually join that group, there's actually processes in joining it, and there's processes in leaving it. If you're a priest here in the Catholic Church, you can't just leave and still be in good standing with the priesthood. There's a process. You have to apply, to the bishop and say, listen, I want to be laicized and so on. And there's a procedure to go through, you see. And it's the same if you're in the C Organisation. You go through a procedure. Now, you don't have to go through that procedure. You can just walk out the door, you see. But if you walk out the door and just say, listen, I'm off, you're no longer in good standing with the C Organisation, you see, with that order, you see.
Would they be like Opus Dei would be in the Catholic Church, that type of thing, or would it be formalised?
Yeah, it would be much more formalised than that. Opus Dei are a kind of an almost like a branch of the Catholic Church, and I happen to know a bit about it because I know some guys in Opus Dei, and they would be, and they free it themselves. They would be a conservative wing of the Catholic Church, you see, etc. But although they have their own priesthood within Opus Dei, and they're based up in Harrington Road Church, they are still, broadly speaking, Catholics. You see, so the C Organisation is a bit like the Jesuits, except men and women can be members, and you can get married in it, and so on and so forth. You see, etc. But it's only for people who are extremely committed to the church, you see. It's not for everybody, because it's long hours, just like a priest or a Jesuit. It's long hours. It's basically 24/7. You don't clock off, you see.
What is the role of the C Org inside the Church of Scientology?
Well, it tends to look after the hierarchical structure. It doesn't exist in Ireland now, for example. So it would be involved in the much larger churches in the United States, and we have a big church in England, in southern England, in St Hill, near East Grinstead, and so there will be a group of them there, and there's a group of them in Copenhagen, and so on. You see.
And what are your point of views on the claims that Scientology disconnects members from their family? You often hear the word suppressive person used a lot in the media, and they say that when a person joins Scientology, they're advised to disconnect from their family because they're suppressive people and they affect their spiritual beliefs and their spiritual growth.
Yeah, again, it's, I just hear this all the time, you see, and it's just utter rubbish, right? Now, what we do have is that if you're a member of the church, and then someone that you know is attacking the church, then you obviously try and deal with that person. You go off and deal with the person, you see, etc. Now, as a very, very last resort, and I can tell you, it has never happened in Ireland. Never, not once. As a very, very last resort, the person is told you cannot you cannot do courses in the church unless you deal with your situation, because you have a situation where, think about it, it's like as if you were going out with some girl and your family were constantly on your back about your girlfriend, and they were saying all the time, oh, she's a this, she's a that, she's a very, very bad girl, and blah blah, and you were saying, hang on, let's just agree to disagree, but I don't want you, every time I come up, you're on me about the girlfriend. It's my life. I choose who I choose it to be with, you see, etc. And there will come a time, if that doesn't stop, what do you do? You see, what do you do if your family say, we insist you divorce that girl, we insist on it because she's ruining your life, you see, etc. What do you do then, you see, etc. There has to come a time that you have to deal with that in some way, you see, So, but again, that's like a very extreme case,
So you're saying that the church wouldn't step in directly. It would be up to that person to go, look, I don't want to have any contact with my family.
Yes, and as I said, it's incredibly rare. It's incredibly rare, and it's constantly portrayed in the media as if it's a everyday thing. It's just unbelievably false.
And how do you feel about, in recent years, that high-profile ex-members, including Mike Render, recently Hollywood director Paul Haggis and Jenna Miscavige, the niece of the church leader David Miscavige, and John Digan as well, speaking out against Scientology? They've been quite vocal in terms of speaking out in the media about Scientology. What are your views and the church's views on that?
Well, that is their point of view. You see, that is their point of view. The Renders of this world walked away from the church. After they were demoted. You see, they walked away, and that's their right. You see, they walked away. They no longer want to do it, and now they're criticising the senior hierarchy within the church. Who they had their disagreements with. But that's just life. People disagree about things. People split up about things. They have disagreements. They walk away. You see it all the time. People walk away, and then they start blaming each other on what happened and so on. It's just a fact of life. For me, I would be kind of philosophical about it. It's inevitable. Marriage, I'm a firm believer in lifelong marriage, but the facts of the matter is that marriage breaks down, and people go away, and then the blame game starts, and people start pointing the finger of accusation, and you get kids involved, and it just snowballs out. And this is the kind of thing that occurs, you see. So it's just life, like these guys are saying what they're saying. So what, you see, They're, so what?
So you feel there's absolutely no grounding for any of the claims they make in the video?
I have no idea what they're claiming, they're saying bad things about the head of the church, and he's saying terrible things about them. So, I wasn't there. I have no idea what went on and what was said and so on and so forth. I don't know, you see. But at the end of the day, it's irrelevant, you see. The bottom line is that, is what Scientology has to offer, does it work? Now, it either works or it doesn't work, you You see, if it's applied right, in my experience, it works. If it doesn't work, it should be thrown in the bin. Just like anything else that doesn't work. You see, Now we have a lot of things that work. I mean, unbelievable amounts of things. I would be a reasonably educated person. I'm an architect and so on, and architecture is like a 5-year course, and then there's 2 years, and then it's a substantial course. A substantial amount of stuff associated with it, but it pales into insignificance compared to the breadth and the depth of Scientology. I mean, Scientology is absolutely vast. A vast amount of stuff that do everything from aesthetics to literacy to drug rehab to an awful lot of stuff, and I firmly believe that this stuff can help an awful lot of people. Now, other people don't agree with that, and that's their point of view.
Gerard, do you mind me asking, what do you feel have been the benefits for you yourself in terms of joining Scientology from when you joined to now?
Yeah, well, from my point of view, I'm a far more ethical person than I was beforehand. I lead a far more ethical life. I hope I make the right decisions in life, and since I've been in Scientology and in architecture and in the construction industry, for example, that I've been in for over 25 years, it's not always very ethical, and it's quite easy to make the wrong decision in terms of lack of an ethical moral point of view. So that has changed enormously. I will be far more of a tolerant person than I was before. I had to be quite frank. I had quite a jaundiced view of, for example, the Catholic Church. Before, but since I become a Scientologist, I actually understand a little bit more about where they're coming from. So I have a far more tolerant point of view, and I'm much more tolerant in general. Of people. I will be far more aware. I understand what makes people tick. I understand their actual point of view, where they're coming from, and what might have led them to the opinions and the point of view and the behaviour that they're actually doing now. Etc. And to the degree that an awful lot of people who are not Scientologists at all actually seek my advice out on a lot of different things. Personal matters and so on. And so it has helped me enormously. It's helped me address many things that happened to me in my past.
So is there anything else you'd like to add in relation to your beliefs or in relation to Church of Scientology?
Yeah, I think Scientology is going to be a hell of a lot bigger, in years to come. Obviously we are relatively small, right? Relatively small. We are tiny. We are a drop in the ocean. There's 6.5 billion people, shortly to be 7 billion people, and Scientology is only a few million strong, so we're a drop in the ocean, but we, as you say, we punch well above our weight. We have grown from 0 to millions in just over 50 years. That is a growth rate unprecedented in human history, right? If you actually think about it, from 0, we would be nearly the same size as the Mormons, and far more broadly spread, and they've been around a lot longer than us, and so you're actually going to see us be very big now in years to come, So then I hope that we will be a far more benefit to the society at large, particularly in social reform and so on, than we are now, etc. And so I think there's going to be interesting times ahead, particularly this year. Actually, there'll be some interesting things going on.
Can you give us a clue as to what they might be?
Yes, we have we have a very large new technical headquarters opening, probably sometime this year, towards the middle of the year. We some interesting things going on there now. So